Sam's Gap. From this high point on Interstate 26, you can view high-elevation balds, vast tracts of Cherokee and Pisgah National Forests, wilderness areas, a new Tennessee state park that's part of a 10,000-acre watershed, the Unicoi Bear Reserve, and some of the most beautiful sections of the Appalachian National Scenic Trail. This is an important corridor for wildlife, a place animals travel through as part of their natural activities and needs. Along this section of Interstate 26, just within the forest boundary, beyond the daily path of cars and trucks, and up along the ridges atop the many road cuts, are abundant and diverse wildlife. Black bear, white-tailed deer, bobcat, red and gray fox, long-tailed weasel, box turtle, and many more species. Animals use the area for home range movements and dispersal, foraging and breeding, and, in some particularly important places, to raise their young. In the not-too-distant past, wildlife encountered few obstacles in fulfilling these and other needs. However, with the construction of Interstate 26, once ubiquitous wildlife pathways that followed spur ridgelines and gaps, hollows and creeks, were blocked or completely filled in, leaving wildlife today few viable crossing options. Currently, wildlife have to choose between crossing 4 lanes of traffic with a tall concrete barrier in the median, or using one of the human-made structures such as drainage pipes, box culverts, or bridge underpasses, very few of which were engineered for wildlife use, either too small, too wet, too long, or too much concrete to encourage wildlife use. In the early 2000s, 4 small wildlife culverts were installed by North Carolina Department of Transportation per guidance of North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, and by Tennessee Department of Transportation, with promising results. Wildlife have been documented using these small structures, but modifications and directional fencing are needed to make them fully functional for various species and for consistent long-term use. Yet these 4 structures alone are not enough to safely carry the flow of wildlife in this important 14-mile stretch of highway. Additional new structures and modifications to existing structures, along with fencing, will be needed to fully restore wildlife connectivity across this landscape. As drivers, it may be most obvious to us that vehicles and busy highways can be dangerous obstacles resulting in the roadkill deaths of individual animals. But beyond these deaths lies a pattern that affects entire populations of wildlife long-term by disrupting what we call wildlife connectivity, their overall ability to travel freely across the greater landscape, and resulting in fragmentation of their habitat and populations. This is the barrier effect, when wildlife stop even attempting to navigate roads due to increasing traffic and noise and inappropriate structures, thus limiting foraging, breeding, and dispersal opportunities. This lack of free movement has long-term effects on the genetics of a population and on animal community structures such as predator-prey relationships. Ultimately, depending on the stretch of highway and the time of day or season, Interstate 26 sometimes serves as a barrier and other times a mortality trap. A daily risk-reward evaluation that wildlife must make when traversing landscapes infused by roads. The mission of Safe Passage is to improve wildlife's ability to safely cross Interstate 26 in the Sam's Gap region, resulting in improved safety and restoring wildlife habitat connectivity. In fall 2021, with the support of Safe Passage and community partners, the National Parks Conservation Association began a 2-year study to assess roadside wildlife activity patterns, evaluate wildlife use of existing structures, and determine wildlife mortality hotspots. Through wildlife camera trapping and mortality observations done via driving surveys, we are gaining insight into where activity levels are the highest, the permeability of existing structures, and where wildlife is trying to cross. Once our analysis is complete, we will submit formal recommendations to the North Carolina and Tennessee Departments of Transportation for improvements to existing structures, including directional fencing, bench contouring, wildlife-friendly median barriers, and recommendations for new structures that may include size-appropriate culverts and potentially a wildlife underpass or land bridge. These measures will reduce wildlife vehicle collisions and improve wildlife connectivity across this nationally significant landscape. With the rapid expansion of roads and development in western North Carolina and East Tennessee, many opportunities to conserve wildlife populations and the corridors that connect them have been lost. Along this stretch of Interstate 26, these opportunities are still viable and feasible. But with 8,000 to 10,000 vehicles a day and rising, and with more development encroaching every day, the clock is ticking, and that window is closing. Now is the time to act before it's too late. Please sign up to learn more about Safe Passage and show your support for immediate and long-term solutions to help wildlife safely cross this road and ensure healthy wildlife flow across the southern Appalachians for decades to come.